Most Godot developers use character body 2D, rigid body 2D, and an area 2D. But under the hood, they're all talking to the same system, the physics server. Today we're going to skip the wrappers and work with the physics engine directly. The physics server gives you a direct, low-level access to Godot's physics engine. It removes much of the scene tree overhead, as we've discussed in the past, as minimal as it could be. To the majority, there is still that bit of overhead, and it gives you complete control over how the physics objects are created, updated, managed. And for games with large numbers of simulated objects or custom architectures, that can improve scalability and flexibility. Now, I do have some numbers here that I'd like to share with you before we get started, just so you can get an idea. Now, keep in mind, the times that I'm about to show you for some different body counts are, of course, from a benchmark. These objects or collision objects here are moving around. However, they're not like NPCs or other objects, right? So you don't have things like logic running. They don't have any decisions to make. There's nothing being rendered to the screen. So the numbers that we have here are purely the physics portion of each of your frames. So this would be things like the physics process, right? Where all of your physics calculations are performed during your frame. So if I just bring that over here, we can see I tested this with both nodes and with using the physics server directly. Nodes, as you can see from the side here, is things like the static body. We have an image that can run and a collision shape. Now in the test, of course, nothing can run, so it's just like a static, rigid, or character body with a collision shape. Just to be clear on what nodes means here. And in physics server, it's like my player here, where like my player here who is just a sprite, it creates its own physics collision by talking to the server directly. Hopefully that's clear. So we can see here with benchmarking with 100 bodies, nodes spent about 0.18 ms here. All right, so about 180 microseconds or 0.18 milliseconds. And on the physics server side, at 100 bodies, we have 175.72 microseconds or 0.175 milliseconds. So you can see at 100 bodies, we're pretty similar. So if you have less than 100 things happening, you could probably go either way. And it's, as you can see, even at 100, it's for the most part negligible unless you're trying to do the maximum performance. Absolutely. Even if it's not necessary in your project. So we can see at 100 bodies, pretty negligible. But as we increase the body count, you're going to see that gap widen further and further. So at 1,000 bodies, we have 2,178.95 microseconds. Don't know why that's such a hard word to say today. Or 2.1789 milliseconds. Using a physics server, we had 1,887.158 microseconds, or 1.887 milliseconds. And at 3,000 bodies, we had, using nodes, over 6,834 microseconds, or 6.834 milliseconds. The physics server, using that, we only had 6,006 microseconds, which is 6.006 milliseconds. So you can see the larger the gap is, the more, or the greater the amount of bodies that are being calculated, the wider the gap becomes between using nodes and physics servers. And of course, you can use them both together, which is what I'll be showing you here in the tree here, which I showed you earlier, the tree on the side here. I just have a static body for the floor, static body for a wall, and then a rigid body for our object that is going to fall down to the ground, and then our player, who is just a sprite with nothing else. So you'll see that even if you want to use physics server for some things and nodes for other things, you can certainly do that. All right. So you can go ahead and, in this case, set up your bodies the way you want, and then the player, just a sprite, and we can go ahead, jump in. In fact, I'll show you how it works first. So you can see we can come in, we can interact, bump into this wall, and we can't go any further. Same thing down here with the floor. We can't go any further, but we can move along it. And then the rigid body, we are still able to apply forces and push it off the edge. We just have to control some of that stuff, of course, ourselves. All right, so let's take a look at how to do this in code. So let's go ahead and jump in and take a look. So right here at the start, of course, we got our speed. We're going to have to create our own velocity. We have the body RID and our shape RID, so we can access and modify those at any point. And just at the bottom of the script, down here, I just have a simple handle input. Of course, this can always be better, and how you implement handling is completely up to you. I just needed something basic to quickly move around. All right. So back to the top of our script here, the first thing we're going to do is inside of our ready function, we're going to create the physics body and collision shape. So first up, with the body RID, we're going to set the new physics body. So we're going to create one, and then we need to set its mode. So in my case, I'm setting it to kinematic, but you can change this to body mode.rigid or body mode.static. Of course, I'm using kinematic for my case. Next up, we have to create the rectangle collision shape. So the shape RID is going to be our rectangular shape create. And then we set the rectangle size. So PhysicsServer2D set shape data. So we got to pass that data in. We're going to pass it to our shape RID and give it a size of 64 by 64 in my case. We then need to attach the shape to our body. And then add the body to our current physics world that we have here. All right, and of course with 3D, you'd be using, we have a 3D version. Oh, of course we're using 2D here. Sorry there. Next, we'll go ahead and create an identity transform for ourselves and set the starting position. So right here, we're creating our transform and setting the position for where we're going to start. So you can see this is what's going to allow us to start right here in the center. Of course, you could set this. This could be anywhere on its own, but that's just because I'm using global position. We come in here, change this vector to 137. If we wanted, probably spending way too long in here. It's basic, move along. Next, we can apply that transform to our physics body so that our physics body is, of course, moving with us rather than our sprite moving in one place and our collision is somewhere else. And to do that, we just set the body state, pass in the body RID, transform, and our transform. That takes us to our physics process where, of course, we're handling movement, just in this case, and the collision for each of our physics frames. So we're going to have to create motion to calculate this is going to calculate the movement for our frame. So that's just our velocity times delta. Then we have our parameters. These are going to be the parameters used to calculate used with our motion, right? So these are our motion test parameters. And then we use the body's current transform to set up our parameters, sorry. Then we set our desired movement with parameters.motion equals motion. And we can store that collision result as well. So if we are colliding with something. So our result will be our physics test motion results.2d equals new. And then we can check. So if our PhysicsServer2D body test motion, pass in our RID, our parameters, and the result. So if we're colliding with something, then motion equals result.getTravel. And that's just going to allow us to move only as far as possible before colliding. So that's what allows us to hit that static body and then stop moving, even though we're pressing, to the left, or if gravity's pulling us down, why we don't go through that floor. And if you want to do that bit of collision like I have with the rigid body cube that falls down, all I'm doing is I'm checking if something was hit. I'm sorry, get a little ahead. I check the collider again, in this case. And only this time I'm storing it as a variable. So you could come in here and argue that we could take this, put it up here, and then just say if collided, and then just set our motion, right? So yes, you can write this better. I see that. I acknowledge that for anyone who's already typing on the keyboard. Remember, the point of videos is to show you the logic of how something works. The implementation and design is up to you. So yes, I acknowledge this can be written better. But point is, get the collision, and if we're colliding, then in my case, I'm storing that in. So this should look familiar if you've done some manual collisions on your own before. Result.getCollider. This would be our collider RID. And then I simply check if it's a rigid body, then I'm going to apply a central impulse of velocity times 0.1. So 10% of my velocity is being applied as impulse if it's a rigid body, so that I can push it. All right. Next up, we have our moving our transform. And then we update the body's position and sync up the sprite with the physics body. So again, they're in the same spot. And that's it. All that's left is just handling my input. So again, if we came up here and we simply did not have this portion, we would not be able to interact with that rigid body, because we're just going to smack it just like a static body where nothing happens. We can't move, we can't push it, nothing. And there you go. I've went ahead and just quickly moved things around so it could be written a little better for anyone that is hugely annoying. So we just went and stored that result up here and simply just did an if collided and kind of merged everything in. So our motion and our collision here. So get the collider, if rigid, apply force. Right? And if we wanted, right, you can come in, you can change this so we can check if it's a static body, then do the next set of logic. Right? Now, of course, with something like this, of course, we're going to error out because static bodies don't have an apply central impulse like rigid bodies do. But you get the idea. You can just check if it's a static, do this. If it's a rigid, do this. If it's a kinematic, do this. So you have full control over what happens when you collide with different collision types. All right. So hopefully those numbers that I showed you maybe gives you some ideas of where you might want to use it. Hopefully the code shows you that it's not as scary as you might have thought. And my mind just went blank on the third thing I was going to mention. Nope, paused recording for a bit. Still not coming to me what it was. Oh well, couldn't have been that important, right? But there you go. There's how you can use the physics server to do your own physics instead of using nodes. All right, take care. Have yourselves a good one, and I'll see you guys next week.